I still remember the exact moment everything changed. The living room looked the same. Soft afternoon light filtering through the sheer curtains, my grandmother's embroidered throw draped over the armchair, the faint scent of chamomile tea lingering in the air. But nothing felt the same. Because the man sitting on the sofa next to me wasn't just my brother. He was my brother, Derek, and he had just laughed aloud at my bank balance. We'd gathered at Mom's house for our customary Sunday afternoon tea. The china was set on the coffee table, delicate cupcakes on a tiered stand. Mom hovered in the kitchen, fussing with fresh scones. Derek took a swig of Earl Grey and peered at my phone screen. "Seriously, April?" he snorted. $3,000 in savings? After 10 years of working? My startup just closed its seed round at $1 million. He slapped his thigh, grinning. Guess your financial discipline paid off? What, enough for a weekend getaway in a studio apartment? A ripple of laughter skirted around the room. Dad? From his armchair, my cousin Carla, even Mom paused mid-stir. All eyes flicked to me. My cheeks burned. I'd always been quiet about my savings, modest monthly contributions, a strict budget, no fancy vacations, but $3,000 was real money to me. Hard-earned, sacrificed latte by latte, takeout by takeout. More importantly, it was safety, an emergency cushion, a down payment seed, a promise I'd keep for the day I left my dead-end retail job and pursued my true passion. I forced a polite smile. "I'm happy for you, Derek." He waved me off. "Don't patronize." "Me, April, I know you think penny pinching is admirable. But you work part-time at the bookstore and freelance as a graphic designer. That balance that barely covers rent? That's hardly a financial strategy." I looked down at my teacup, tracing the gilded rim with my fingertip. My heart thudded, in my throat. Every word he said was like a weight pressing down, reminding me of how far behind I was in his eyes, and in my parents' eyes too, judging by Mom's tense posture and Dad's pursed lips. But I stood my ground. "I'm proud of my savings," I said quietly. "They're mine." Derek chuckled, setting his tea aside. "You know what's better?" He leaned forward, voice low so only I could hear. "A real investor. Someone who believes in your vision. Enough to write a check. That's how you build something meaningful." He gave me an exaggerated wink, and the room erupted in polite applause. I plastered on a tight grin, nodding along, but inside a spark ignited, an ember of determination and hurt. He thought he was better than me because someone else funded his dreams. Fine. He was about to find out how right he was, in a way he'd never expect. I retreated to my childhood bedroom that evening, shutting the door on Derek's smug smile echoing in my head. The walls were lined with shelves of books and knickknacks, souvenirs from modest vacations, mementos of life beyond the daily grind. I perched at my desk and opened my laptop. My freelance earnings for the past year were tucked in a spreadsheet, alongside every dollar I'd saved from bookstore shifts and design gigs. $3,000, 326 cents to be exact. I scrolled through Derek's social feed, photos from startup events, selfies in sleek suits, Twitter announcements of our new product pivot, and excited to welcome our angel round. He had the world in the palm of his hand. Seed funding, press coverage, a board of advisors. The company he co-founded with college friends was months from launch, with offices in 2 cities and an office dog that stole the headlines on LinkedIn. A thought flickered in my mind, audacious and wild. What if I could help him? Secretly. What if I could channel my savings into his venture and watch his jaws drop when he realized who had his back all along? The idea made my pulse race. I minimized Derek's feed and opened the online portal for angel investments. My eyes scanned the terms. Minimum check size $5,000. Huh. My $3,000 wouldn't cut it. But what if I asked my parents for a loan, disguised as an extra gift? They'd never suspect. Or I could front the money in increments. Invest $2,000 now, top up later when I had more. It was reckless, but deliciously thrilling. I pulled out a fresh notebook and wrote in bold letters at the top of the page, April's secret funding plan. Beneath it, I jotted, research current cap table and valuation, identify safe vehicle for anonymous investment draft plausible investor profile, unrelated to family. Schedule deposit of initial $2,000 by Friday, plan reveal at product launch event. My hands trembled with excitement. I'd always been cautious and understated, happy in the background, letting others shine. But the time had come to stake a claim in my brother's world. Not for revenge exactly, but to prove that I could make a genuine impact. And perhaps, in seeing my quiet generosity, he'd understand that financial success came in many forms. Over the next 2 weeks, I moved with precision. I researched angel list profiles and discovered a syndicate that had already participated in Derek's industry. I created a user account under the name Harbor Ventures LLC, a vague, respectable-sounding entity. I set up a new bank account in the same name, transferring $2,000 from my savings as seed capital. On a Wednesday morning, I logged into the investment portal just as Derek's startup reopened its round for accredited investors. The valuation had ticked up to $4 million. The minimum investment was $5,000. My $2,000 wouldn't qualify. My heart sank. But my research had paid off. Harbor Ventures LLC was part of a syndicate led by a prominent angel investor. If I joined the syndicate, I could invest as little as $2,000, bundled with other investors, and the platform would aggregate our capital. Perfect. I clicked Join Syndicate, signed the digital agreements, and wired my $2,000. A confirmation email greeted me. Thank you for investing in DerekTech, Inc. via Harbor Ventures LLC. Expected close date, April 30th. I exhaled in relief. My money was in play. Every day, I watched the countdown to close. I resisted the urge to check Papa Dawson's feed. Instead, I focused on my freelance work and my modest savings balance, which now showed a lean $800. Little by little, I was financing my brother's future. During one tense week, I thought, my plan might unravel. The syndicate leader threatened to pull the plug if the total bet didn't reach $50,000 by the deadline. Derek's friends were dragging their feet, skittish about valuations. I felt panic, but also resolve. I tapped into my emergency cushion, transferring another $1,000 into Harbor Ventures, reducing my savings to -$200. It was a reckless choice, but I couldn't back down now. Risk was part of investment. If they needed to see my commitment, I'd commit. On April 30th, the morning sunlight shone sharply through my blinds as I checked my email. The subject line read, DerekTech seed round closed. Congratulations. I clicked it and beamed at the figures. $52,000 raised, with Harbor Ventures LLC credited for $3,000 of that. My secret contributions had secured the round. My brother would see his angel investors had gone above and beyond. I closed my eyes, tasting triumph and the thrill of deception. Then, I thought of Derek's mocking laughter. This was going to be fun. The ultimate reveal would come at DerekTech's public launch party, a trendy rooftop bar packed with investors, journalists, and tech influencers. I'd receive an invitation as part of Harbor Ventures LLC's syndicate, with a note promising a toast in my honor. He'd know my name in the SEC documents, but he wouldn't expect to see me in person. On the evening of the event, I slipped into a sleek black dress and carried a small clutch. My heart pounded beneath the city lights as I entered the venue. The space was electric. Holographic product demos, music pulsing, waiters with champagne flutes. I searched for Derek at the center stage where he would announce the new product and thank his backers. I spotted him, tall, confident, microphone in hand, delivering a polished spiel. Thanks to our seed investors, DerekTech is ready to revolutionize the industry. The crowd cheered. I navigated through the throng, heart in my throat. When he introduced the syndicate leaders, names like Harbor Ventures, Blue Wave Capital, Starfield Angels, the room shifted to applause. Then he said, I'd like to make a special acknowledgement to one of our earliest investors whose generous support got us across the finish line. He paused, as if savoring the moment. Harbor Ventures LLC, your $3,000 showed us you believed in our vision. And tonight, I'm proud to welcome our lead investor, April Dawson. A hush fell over the rooftop. I stepped forward, releasing a small gasp of joy others mistook for surprise. Derek's eyes locked on mine, disbelief flashing across his face. He paused, faltering mid-sentence. April? He repeated, voice cracking. My sister? I smiled, stepping onto the stage beside him. Surprise, I said softly, the city skyline shimmering behind us. The room erupted in applause and laughter. Derek's jaw hung open. I extended my hand. Your biggest fan, I said, voice steady. He seized my hand, voice thick. I had no idea. I nodded. Neither did Mom and Dad. I wanted you to build something real, not just brag to a room full of investors. But above all, I wanted you to know I believe in you. His eyes glistened. You funded me? I winked. In secret. The crowd surged forward with congratulations as we descended the stage. Investors pounded Derek on the back. Journalists snapped photos. He held me close in the afterglow, whispering, I'm sorry I laughed at your savings. You've taught me more than any lecture ever could. I smiled and slipped my hand into his. We both learned something tonight. As the party swirled around us, I realized that success wasn't just about capital or boardrooms. It was about loyalty, quiet investments made in the shadows, the power of belief, and the delicious irony of turning mockery into the very foundation of someone's dream. And somewhere in the crowd, under the neon lights, I saw Harbor Ventures LLC's name in glowing letters, and I knew my secret was safe. The morning after the launch party, I awoke to a flurry of unread messages. Congratulations, investor inquiries, news alerts touting DerekTech's triumphant seed round. My phone buzzed with text from Mom. So proud of you both. Laura, did you see the coverage? And even a few from Harbor Ventures LLC's syndicate partners asking for my contact details. I smiled, savoring the glow of secrecy. None of them knew April Dawson was their mysterious lead investor. Until now. Sliding out of bed, I checked my bank balance. Thanks to the rapid follow-on pledges from Blue Wave Capital and Starfield Angels, galvanized by our launch night, Harbor Ventures LLC's syndicate had been credited with an additional $10,000. My personal contribution still stood at $3,000, but the round's success meant my sibling-financed stake had multiplied in both value and impact. I brewed a pot of coffee and settled at my laptop to draft an email to Derek. Since our rooftop revelation, he'd been swamped. Startup demands, media follow-ups, investor calls. I wanted to congratulate him again, but also to lay the groundwork for our next steps, helping DerekTech transition from seed stage into true operations. I typed, subject, next steps for DerekTech, congratulations again on last night's launch. As Harbor Ventures' lead investor, I'm excited to help define our involvement in the coming weeks. Let's schedule time to review your operational plan, budget allocations, and advisory board composition. I have some ideas on customer acquisition strategy and brand partnerships we can explore together. April hesitated before hitting send. Would he be comfortable blending family and business so publicly? But the prior evening's emotion had cleared any reservations. He'd welcomed me onto the stage. Now it was time to step fully into that partnership. At noon, Derek called. His voice was warm, but edged with the unsteady excitement of a founder on the cusp of rapid growth. April, I got your email. Let's meet at the office in an hour. See? You then, I replied. The drive to DerekTech HQ felt surreal. Just weeks ago, he'd been bragging about million-dollar seed rounds, and I'd sat in my parents' living room hearing every word. Now I was co-creating the company's future. I parked in the visitor lot and headed inside, where polished, concrete floors echoed with startup buzz, keyboards clacking, brainstorming sessions, design whiteboards scrawled with product roadmaps. Derek greeted me at the reception desk, ushering me through glass doors into the main workspace. He wore a crisp hoodie with the company logo, a far cry from the tailored suit of launch night. His face was bright with the thrill of possibility. I owe you lunch, he said, leading me to a small conference room. Let's talk plans. I smiled, watching as he pulled up financial projections, marketing calendars, and a detailed Gantt chart on the large monitor. His confidence was contagious, but I'd learned to trust patience over haste. I'm still getting used to being on the inside, I admitted, but I have some thoughts. I outlined my suggestions, diversifying customer segments, strategic partnerships with niche influencers in our market, and a phased product rollout that prioritized quality over speed. Derek listened intently, jotting notes. "You're incredible," he said, eyes shining. "I can't believe I almost laughed you out of savings last week." I laughed softly. "Hey, family dynamics are complicated, but we're here now. Let's channel that energy." We spent the next 2 hours refining projections and delegating tasks. My heart swelled at the seamless blend of sibling camaraderie and professional respect. For once, I wasn't the overlooked sister with a modest bank balance. I was a critical pillar in a burgeoning enterprise. By late afternoon, I slipped out of the office to run errands. My phone buzzed with a text from Harbor Ventures LLC's platform. "Your monthly investor call is scheduled for May 15. I tapped the reminder and made a note to prepare our syndicate's update, highlighting the strategies Derek and I had devised, and the progress on office expansions and team hires. Arriving at my favorite cafe, I ordered a matcha latte and settled into a corner seat with my notebook. I reviewed the day's meeting minutes, adding follow-up items and assignment deadlines. A sense of grounded purpose anchored me, no longer merely a passive saver, but an active collaborator in my brother's dream. As I sketched out social media campaign ideas for DerekTech, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a DM on LinkedIn from one of the syndicate's junior analysts, Jane L. "Hi, April. I loved your insights on the round strategy. Would you be open to a 15-minute call to discuss follow-on? I'm exploring potential series odds." A support. I exchanged a quick series of messages to schedule the call. When Jane called 20 minutes later, she effused gratitude for my secretive investment and praised my innovative approach to family-backed financing. I deflected graciously, emphasizing the value of collaboration. But inside, I reveled. In the dual triumph, DerekTech had grown from family joke to legitimate enterprise, and I'd spearheaded the transition behind a veil of anonymity until it was time to claim my share. That evening, I returned home to find my parents waiting in the living room. Mom held a tray of tea. Dad reclined in his favorite chair, newspaper spread across his lap. My, Mom said, offering me a cup. "You're home early? Busy day?" I exchanged glances with Dad, whose expression was unreadable. I took a cautious sip. It was productive. Derek and I finalized some partnerships for his company. Mom's eyes sparkled. "That's wonderful. He seemed so proud of you last night." I nodded, smiling. "We're a good team." I glanced at Dad. "Have you two read the tech articles?" Dad folded his paper, placing it on the side table. "I saw the piece in Tech Innovator magazine, your article." He gave me a measured look. "It's quite an unusual setup, angel rounds and sibling leads." I set my cup down. "It is unique," I admitted. "But it works." Mom reached across and squeezed my hand. "I'm so proud of you, April." Her eyes glistened. I felt a lump rise in my throat, the warmth of her approval washing away any lingering self-doubt. Dad cleared his throat. "Just promise you're looking out for each other. Business is one thing, family is another." I nodded. "I promise." Over. The next month, DerekTech accelerated growth. The syndicate rallied around our proposed customer referral program, driving a 20% uptick in signups. Series A interest grew. 2 venture firms requested term sheets. Derek's Slack channel buzzed with excited engineers finalizing features for the beta product. The office dog even made headlines again. Through it all, I remained a steady hand, chairing our monthly update calls, drafting investor memos, and coordinating our next fundraise timeline. Each time I logged into my Harbor Ventures account, I saw my tiny but pivotal contribution in the funding ledger, a hidden flourish behind the company's success. Then, one late Wednesday, I received an urgent message from Derek. "DTX founders, April, need you at the office ASAP, something's come up." My stomach twisted as I dashed to DerekTech HQ. I found him pacing in the main workspace, hands in his hair. Beside him stood 2 suited representatives from one of the Series A firms, Brightstone Capital. Their veneer of professionalism contrasted sharply with Derek's raw anxiety. Brightstone's lead partner, a stern woman named Victoria Clark, folded her arms. "Mr. Dawson, We've reviewed your Series A materials. Very promising. However, there seems to be an anomaly in your cap table. We have on record an unaffiliated investor, Harbor Ventures LLC, holding 10% equity. We need to verify the identity and qualifications of this investor before proceeding. Derek whirled toward me, panic in his eyes. April, what is this? I stepped forward, heart pounding but voice steady. I'm April. I'm the lead investor. The room went silent. Other employees peeked from behind desks. Victoria arched an eyebrow. Ms. Dawson? April Dawson? Your sister? Derek's face drained. Yes, April is my sister. Victoria's composed gaze sharpened. Family. Involvement at the investor level can trigger conflict of interest concerns. We need to understand the relationship, terms, and due diligence on her background. Otherwise, we cannot move forward. Derek swayed on his feet, as though bracing for impact. I caught his eye and offered a small, reassuring nod. Now was the moment of truth. I'd remained hidden long enough. It was time to step fully into the light. I cleared my throat. I can provide all documentation you need. My entity, Harbor Ventures LLC, meets accredited investor criteria. My investment was made in good faith. No preferential treatment was requested. In fact, it was non-dilutive to the founding team beyond the standard terms offered to other syndicate members. Victoria tapped her pen on the folder. We'll need audited financials, proof of funds, and a brief on your investment background. Once we verify your credentials, we can proceed. But you must understand, this disclosure will be noted in our term sheet and public filings. Derek exhaled, relief and regret mingling on his face. Thank you for stepping in. I should have told you sooner. I placed a hand on his arm. We'll get this sorted. I spent the next 2 days supplying Brightstone with my personal and LLC financial statements, bank references, and a succinct summary of my professional background, bookstore manager turned freelance designer. When Victoria received the documents, her tone shifted appreciatively. Ms. Dawson, your profile is in order. We'll amend our term sheet and proceed to due diligence. The announcement rippled through DerekTech. Series A was back on track thanks to our transparency. Employees celebrated, investors sent approving messages. Derek even sent me a private text. Derek D. I'm sorry I didn't trust you. You've been the best investor and partner I could ask for. I replied simply, family and business mix can be messy, but I believe in you. A week later, the final Series A term sheet arrived. $7.5 million at a $25 million pre-money valuation. Harbor Ventures LLC's stake was formally listed at 10%, the same share I'd supported in secret. The final board meeting to ratify the round was scheduled for Friday. On that Friday morning, I joined Derek and the founding team in the sleek boardroom. Victoria, the Brightstone partner, was there with her team. We ran through the agenda, discussed governance guidelines, and finalized the equity allocations. When the moment came to vote, I cast my proxy as Harbor Ventures. The vote passed unanimously. Derek and I exchanged a glance that spoke volumes. From mockery to mutual respect, our journey had come full circle. After the meeting, we stepped out onto the terrace overlooking the city. The skyline glittered with promise. Derek turned to me, voice thick with emotion. I owe you everything. Last month, I thought your savings were a joke. Now I know your sacrifice was real. He hesitated, searching my face. April, do you regret it? I looked at him, the wind tousling my hair. Not for a second. Investing in you and in us was the best decision I ever made. He pulled me into a hug. I leaned into his shoulder, the noise of the city swirling around us, like a symphony of possibility. That evening, I returned to my modest apartment, a snug 2-bedroom space that had once been my sole domain of frugality. I set my laptop on the kitchen counter and reflected on how far we'd come, from Derek's derisive laughter to our shared venture in a multi-million-dollar enterprise. I brewed a cup of tea and sank into the living room, pulling out the white leather notebook where I'd first drafted my secret funding plan. I thumbed to the final entry: climax, public reveal, and series. A ratification. A smile curved my lips as I tapped my finger on the margin. The plan had succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. My phone buzzed with a notification from LinkedIn. DerekTech secures $7.5 million Series A at $25 valuation. I tapped through to the company page and scrolled past the banner image, Derek smiling, face front and center, and beneath the post, the syndicate thanks. Special thanks to April Dawson of Harbor Ventures LLC for her unwavering support. I felt a swell of pride. In a world that measures success by headlines and bank balances, I had quietly financed a dream, and in doing so, rewritten the narrative of sibling rivalry into one of collaboration and mutual respect. I closed my notebook, drained the last drop of tea, and whispered into the quiet apartment, "You've come a long way from $3,000. And as sleep claimed me that night, I carried with me the knowledge that real fortune isn't only in what you save, but in what you invest in when no one's watching. The morning after our Series A closing, the sun streamed through my apartment, window and golden slats, heralding a new chapter not only for DerekTech but for my own life. I lay in bed for a few moments, savoring the rare luxury of waking without anxiety. No cramped budgeting, no fear of eviction, no sibling mockery, just possibility. But life, as I'd learned, waits for no one. I rose, showered, and dressed in a crisp blouse and tailored pants, office-ready attire for my day at DerekTech, where I serve now as both strategic advisor and de facto operations partner. My role had expanded beyond mere investor. I was a co-creator, consultant, and confidant. Over coffee, I reviewed my to-do list for the day. Attend morning stand-up with the product team, finalize marketing collateral for the upcoming beta launch meet with the legal team to set up April Dawson Tech. Our new special purpose LLC for ongoing investments lunch brainstorm, with Derek on employee equity incentives, evening keynote at a local startup conference. By the time I stepped out onto the sidewalk, the city thrummed with energy, a reflection of DerekTech's own momentum. At 9 a.m., I joined the product stand-up in the open plan office. Engineers huddled around whiteboards littered with flowcharts. Designers tapped at sleek monitors. Derek took the lead, his confidence unwavering. "Morning, team," he began. "We're at T-2 weeks before beta launch. April and I have narrowed down the user testing group. Today, we need updates on UI feedback integration and server load testing." Hands shot up. For the next 30 minutes, I chimed in with targeted questions. Can we streamline that onboarding flow for lower bandwidth users? What's our redundancy plan for potential spikes? Have we set KPIs for the early adopters? When the meeting wrapped, developers huddled around me seeking clarity. A junior engineer, Carlos, approached shyly. "Ms. Dawson, April. I just wanted to say, your insights are really helping us prioritize." "Thank you," I smiled. "Thanks, Carlos. Keep up the great work." As I left the war room, Derek intercepted me with a thumbs up. "Nailed that. Investors are going to love your operational roadmap." I winked. "That's what I'm here for." By midday, I was in a glass-walled conference room with the marketing team, finalizing copy for the beta launch microsite. They projected mock-ups on the screen, sleek headlines, dynamic product images, user testimonials. I pointed out tweaks, emphasize our hybrid architecture, highlight accessibility features, weave in the story of family-backed roots as a human element. "You mean the anecdote about my sister secretly investing?" Derek asked, half smiling. I nodded. People love authenticity. It shows we're not a faceless startup. We're run by real people who believe in each other. The team loved the idea. Within minutes, our agency partner had drafted our story sidebar featuring a stylized portrait of me and Derek, with a brief note. Siblings by birth, co-founders by destiny. When April saw potential in a $3,000 savings account, she turned it into the seed that today powers DerekTech's digital future. I submerged my face in my hands for a second, mortified yet proud. It was bold, but genuine. At 2 p.m., I sat across from Derek in his office, once a drab cubicle, now converted into a warm, personalized space with family photos, framed patent certificates, and a small bookshelf. He slid a folder across the desk. "Employee stock option, plan draft," he said. I examined the document. 5% of total outstanding shares reserved for ESOP, vesting over 4 years with a 1-year cliff. It was solid. Employees would feel invested. I suggested adding a discretionary pool for performance bonuses. He nodded. Perfect. You're making this company into something extraordinary. I offered a small smile. Team success leads to company success. And family success? He hesitated, gaze softening. April, I looked up. His eyes were earnest, a flicker of vulnerability replacing his usual swagger. You saved my pride by letting me keep my savings. Now I'll save yours by helping you build your dream. He reached out and squeezed my hand. And I'll always believe in you. That evening, I delivered a keynote at the local startup conference. Capital and Kin, the Power of Family-Backed Ventures. I spoke to a packed auditorium, founders, investors, students, about the unique intersection of family ties and business growth. I shared the headline story, carefully sanitized. A sister's secret investment, turning sibling Sloan-style mockery into a thriving enterprise. As I concluded, I echoed a refrain Derek had whispered on the terrace weeks ago. In business, as in life, the greatest returns come from the investments we make when no one's watching. The room erupted in applause. I stepped off the stage, cheeks warm with satisfaction, greeted by aspiring founders and journalists eager to hear more. I posed for photos, signed autographs, and felt the electric buzz of inspiration. Back at DerekTech HQ, the celebration continued. The engineering team had popped champagne, and the CEO's office door was propped open for an impromptu gathering. I found Derek in the lounge area, toasting with a flute of sparkling cider. "To April," he called out. "Our silent partner, secret MVP." Everyone cheered. I raised my glass, laughter bubbling up. That night, we danced loosely on the workspace's open floor. Engineers, designers, marketers, and the Dawson siblings at the center. For that moment, we were family and founders, united by loyalty and ambition. Later, Derek and I slipped away. To the terrace, now lit by fairy lights strung from the railing. The city lights twinkled below. Endless windows, roads pulsing with life. He leaned on the railing beside me. "I want to do something for you, April. A thank you gift that actually matters." I glanced at him. "You don't have to." He shook his head. "I do." "How about your own office?" I've been thinking April's Corner for strategy, consulting, and innovation. A space with your name on the door. I laughed, delighted. "Are you serious?" He grinned, eyes bright. "Nothing makes me more serious than paying you back for every penny you risked." I wrapped him in a quick hug. Best gift ever. The following week, we closed on our new office, April's Corner, located within the DerekTech campus. We painted the walls a warm cream, installed ergonomic workstations, and ordered personalized stationery emblazoned with my name and the Harbor Ventures LLC logo. It was a milestone, a physical manifestation of my journey from quiet saver to influential investor. One afternoon, I heard a knock on my office door. In walked my parents, beaming. Mom clutched a vase of fresh flowers. Dad held a framed news clipping from Tech Innovator magazine featuring our sibling story. "We had to see it for ourselves," Mom said, placing the vase on my desk. "We're unbelievably proud." Dad set the frame next to my computer. "You've done more than fund a startup, April. You've shown the world the power of family." I swallowed, emotion thick in my throat. "Thank you. For everything." They hugged me, and I felt a perfect kind of contentment. The fusion of personal triumph, family bonds, and professional achievement. Months later, DerekTech released its first product iteration into the market. Adoption soared. User testimonials flooded in. The company's valuation doubled. Major media outlets covered our unique origin story, a sister's secret funding that blossomed into family-led success. On the final slide of the investor deck for Series B, I placed a single line in bold, "Special thanks to April Dawson, our silent partner, strategic advisor, and the heartbeat of DerekTech." That slide closed our presentation with a roar of applause and a standing ovation from the assembled VCs. Backstage, before the post-presentation celebration, Derek grabbed my hand. "Look what you made possible." I squeezed his hand back. "Look what we built, together." That night, as I tucked into bed, I reflected on the journey. $3,000 in a savings account once seemed a paltry joke in Derek's eyes. Yet it had seeded a venture valued at millions. More than that, it had transformed our relationship, from sibling rivalry to symbiotic partnership. I closed my eyes, the soft hum of the city below lulling me into a state of peace and pride. My mind wandered to the early days, meticulous budgeting, incremental savings, late-night plotting of that secret investment. Every sacrifice had led to this moment, proof that small choices can yield monumental outcomes when fueled by belief and boldness. And as sleep claimed me, I whispered into the night. You can mock my savings, but you can't mock its power.